guys, welcome to another episode of The Unlock Show. I'm your host, Tracy Wilson, and it's my absolute pleasure to be here with you guys this morning. I know that you guys are in for a super duper treat today because I've got my very special guest and my very, very dear friend, Vickie Helm, joining me on the show today. And if you don't already know, Vickie and I you've probably seen her on the show a number of times previously. You've seen her appear on the podcast, and we talk about all things in terms of how to grow a really successful mentoring business. Now, there's a few things I want to tell you about this amazing woman that I have with me on today's show. A best-selling author, 42 books under her belt, multiple really successful businesses over a span of, I'm talking a couple of decades. And between the two of us, we have collaborated on a number of different businesses and activities that have been super successful. And we've been getting a lot of questions lately. And this particular show is speaking directly to those of you that have got leadership skills. Now, some of you may be in leadership roles right now. So whether you're a manager at a bank, you're a CEO of a business, you own your own small business, whatever the case may be, or maybe you not even part of any of those, but you know that you have people that follow you. Doesn't matter whether you've got a following as an influencer online or that you just have people that reach out to you and want to follow what you're doing. You have what we call innate leadership skills. And today we want to share with you how Vickie and I actually took our innate leadership skills and we turned them into really successful businesses. So I'm going to hand over to Vic for just a few seconds because I'm just going to check out a couple of my audio things whilst I let her chime in and talk. But Vic, welcome to the show. Great to be here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It was weird because I thought people were going to see me dancing for a minute because the music came on. I was like, dun like that. Then it came on. I was like, oh, I'm glad to be here. And I want to talk about you as well, because your leadership skills, bar none, rock. And you are singularly one of the most award-winning entrepreneurs I've ever met in several categories. And the thing that's there, it's like you got it in marketing, you got it in people skills, you got it on leadership skills. You are so many awards for your businesses and how you treat your clients. And here's the thing. The point of leadership is to achieve a certain level of connection with your clients and customers and people like that. And you have done it so well. And I want to say, this is not, Vickie Helm has been pulling Tracy along. Tracy pulls Vickie Helm along, and we rise together. And we do that with leadership skills. And that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Absolutely. And I want to share a little bit of my story too, which we will as we kind of move through today's conversation. But the reason that I actually asked Vickie and I decided that we would do this particular show is because a lot of people don't really realize that they have the level of leadership skills that they actually have. And between the two of us, like over the last, I'm going to say, we were looking the other day and thinking about, gosh, how long has it been since we developed this concept in the business that we created, and it's called the Freedom Seekers Way. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that either on this show or at a later date. But when Vic and I kind of got together, we started out in writing a book. And for some of you guys, you'll be very familiar with this book, The She Myth. And it's sort of everything that her and I have created together has just evolved from a really lovely friendship, from connecting and then deciding to write a book and then realizing that, do you know what? A lot of the stuff, the skills that Vickie has, the skills that I have, we have almost feel as though we had a duty to combine those skills and then be able to share them with other people so they could kind of move out of, let's say in a lot of ways, out of their jobs or roles that they weren't enjoying and actually take the leadership skills that they naturally had and be able to turn them into something. So Vic, I mean, what's your take on that? Like, if you think back about how we did that, how do you feel about that? And what's your now we're kind of 2 years into it. What have been some of the really beneficial things that have happened over those last couple of years for you?
And thank you for that question. And I want to go back from the start of this, where the question was first asked, and say, I had a guest on the Coffee Break Show just recently who is the founder of the World Changemaker organization. And she did a survey with the SBA, which is the Business Association, the American Small Business Association in the United States. And they did a complete research on millions of people and why they wanted to start a business. And all of them, most of them, the number one answer why people wanted to start a business was to make money. And that's fine. Everybody needs to make money, whether you're working a job or working a business. I prefer a business. But most of the businesses fail within the first year. So even though you want to make money, it doesn't mean it's something you go out and I'm just going to make money. I want a business so I can make money. Leadership is different. Leadership is the bridge that helps you go from I have a job to I have a profitable business. And that leadership skill for me, that journey of I have a job, now I want to have a profitable business, that means three things. One, you have to serve yourself in a way that your leadership skills are now creating influence and authority for you. And the second thing is you have to have a system. People don't want to come in and go, oh, here's this great product, or you have to have a system for them to achieve. And then the third thing that you have to have is consistency. And that is how your leadership skills develop. If you don't have leadership skills, you probably are not going, you're going to be part of that statistic that falls apart and fails. And so what do you do now if you want to actually take your skill sets? Because leadership skills can be hidden and easily talents that you don't even notice. So for example, Oprah Winfrey, she got scolded a lot for talking in class. She was just scolded a lot. You talk too much, sit down, talk, sit down, talk. Well, she makes her living by talking to people. And if you're a good communicator, it's a leadership skill. If you're good at creating any kind of skill that comes naturally to you, like singers. By the way, if you're a singer, whether you're singing in a choir, or you're singing for a band and you're the front singer or the behind singer, you need all kinds of leadership skills to make that happen. Leadership skills are not something that you have to search for. They're something that most people ignore. They don't even see their leadership skills.
And what's interesting about that, Vic, is that a lot of people wait to have somebody else say, I recognize the leadership skills in you.
That's
and
right.
There's a real art in being able to understand what innate leadership skills you already have. And when we understand that, like you were talking about, creating that bridge from, if I think back to my career, starting out in banking and working my way up, and just not even realizing at that time that I even had leadership skills, but all I knew was I wanted to be, not the teller, I wanted to be the bank manager. And so I knew that there were certain things that I had to develop or I had to shine at to be recognized in that way. Yes. And then, then I was then awarded with, hey, you're good enough to have a bank manager's role, and therefore you start to climb the ladder and you start to develop those leadership skills. But as you do that, particularly when you come from a corporate background or you're working for somebody else, and we start to develop our skills over time, often people can get very almost stuck. I'm going to say we get stuck in the sense that we think the leadership skills that we've actually developed are only useful in that particular job or in that particular industry.
True. So true.
And so then we end up kind of going down this path. For example, if you're in banking, what do you tend to do? Well, you start to look for other jobs that are in the finance sector, because that's become a sector that you're familiar with, you're comfortable with, and you think the skill set that you have is only relevant to that particular industry.
Yes. And I want to say this because I want to add on to that. Some of you watching this show right now are using your $1 million skill set to get paid $70,000 or $80,000 a year. from a job. Some of you have
Mhm.
$1 million leadership skills that you are giving away for 6-figure salary, where you're like, hi, maybe 80, 90, 100,000 a year. And some of you have leadership skills that you're giving away for 40,000 a year. You have $1 million leadership skills and you are taking pennies for it. And that's
Yeah.
the thing. That's why we're having this show, because what we help you do is identify your $1 million leadership skill and take
Mhm.
that leadership skill and develop it into something that is your business, where you have your audience, your community, your influence, your authority, and you can grow and actually have the life you dream of having by using the leadership skills that you are giving away right now for 60, 70, 80, 90,000, 100, $120,000 a year. And everybody's like, oh, those are great salaries. Yes, they're great salaries, but they're chump change compared to what you could be having as you're using your leadership skills to build businesses and build the life that you want to have.
And not to mention that with that comes the requirement for you to be going to that job, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, 40, 50, 60. And I remember working for an organization, getting paid for 40 hours, 37 and a half hours a week, and probably working more like 60, and thinking that we had a great income. It was interesting because I was actually watching something this morning, and there was a little thing that came up on TikTok, and this guy was talking about a little skit. And this little skit was a mum saying to her boss, hey, I need to leave today because my little one, Johnny, is not well. I've got to go and pick him up from daycare. And the boss turned around and said, well, you know what? I'm really sorry about that, but have you got any leave available to you? And she said, no, I used all of that last month. Well, I'm really sorry, but no, you can't go. And if you do go, don't come back because you won't have a job. And this little skit was, you may think that particular boss is doing something illegal. This was American based, is doing something illegal. But the reality is, no, he's not. He's actually might be a bit of an ass about it, but he was actually doing what he is. What is very legal for him to do, which is to decline because the person didn't have, that amount of leave to be able to go and pick their little one up. Now, I can tell you that when I worked for an organization for many, many years, and I thought I was in a job that I was in a job that I thoroughly loved. Like literally, if you played an advert for that organization on the television or on the screen inside of the banking organization, Tracy Wilson would have tears in her eyes. That's how passionate and dedicated I was to that particular organization. But I can also tell you that that dedication and that passion also meant that I missed out on school functions. I missed out on, being at home with my kids until they were 5 years old, putting them in daycare. I mean, all the things that you tend to have to forego because you have to be dedicated to the 9 to 5. Now, the thing that I've mentioned that we would talk about here is what happens when you take your leadership skills and you actually turn them into a mentoring business. Yeah, when I first left the corporate world and I thought, I want to start my own business. What does that look like? What do I need to do? What skills do I actually have? And what are some of the challenges or the problems that I could see some of my new audience, my new potential customers had? And you mentioned that most businesses fail within the first year. That was a big piece of work and study that I did to determine what were the key things that made businesses fail and why do they fail within that first year? And in fact, most businesses don't make it past 5 years. Very, very few of them make it past 5 years. So the stuff that Vickie and I are talking about today is not just taking your leadership skills and going, all right, well, what are they and how do I turn them into a business? But actually really thinking about it and turning it into a business that has really good, solid foundations, that is profitable, that is going to stand the test of time, and that is going to last you, more than 5 years and give you the flexibility to be able to live a life that you want based around what you love, are based around your family, based around the things that you want to do, so that you're not having to grind it out 9 to 5 each and every day. And in some days, if you are like I was, we're thinking, what the heck is wrong with me? You want to just curl up in a ball in the corner and rock yourself to sleep because you're that stressed and, etc. If you're in a job like that, I can tell you, you do not need to be. But what I've also learned through this process of, right, so now I understand that I can take my leadership skills and I can turn them into a mentoring business. I get that. And you're probably sitting there now thinking, yeah, okay, Trace, I get it. I've got some skills. I've got some leadership skills that I can do. How do I actually do that? And you might be crapping yourself thinking, I don't know how to take them. I'm not really 100% sure of the things that I need to do to take those skills and be able to turn them into a business. What is the first step I need to do? What is the fifth step? Right the way through to the 100th step. What do I need to do? And having, and if I think back now, if I turn back the clock and went, if only I had somebody that would be able to spend some time with me, help me to recognize what my leadership skills were and how to translate those into an actual business, how valuable that would have been for me. And then if that person or peoples were able to hold my hand, because I'm crapping myself right now. I've just left a, 6-figure job, like you're just talking about, Vic, 60, 70, 80, $100,000, and I'm going to jump in the deep end and create my own thing. I want to know that I've got the support that I need to make all of this happen.
And that's why most people don't succeed, is because they don't have the support that they absolutely need. I think what you said is some of the most important things, because everybody starts with the wrong mindset. And the mindset is, I want to make money. Great. Then get a side hustle. If you want to make a difference in the world, if you want to be somebody, you already feel in your heart, you can feel in yourself that you have something more you want to do, something more you want to be. So listen, you have to know what type of leadership you are. So let me give you an example. There are several of the biggest companies in the world right now, and there are about 4 or 5 different types of entrepreneurs. So they have the entrepreneurial CEOs, the CEO types. And if you look at the CEO types that they hire, everyone knows in the United States, Lee Iacocca, that's the guy you pull in for emergencies. He's the guy that dug many a car company out of near bankruptcy. So he is the type of CEO that is, he could do a startup and he could be a builder CEO, but he's not a startup CEO. He's not a builder CEO. He's the emergency CEO. He's the save the company CEO. And the way I see that is Angela Burns, I think it's a CEO for Xerox. And if I said your name wrong, I'm sorry. I know your last name is Burns, but she pulled Xerox out of, that. There was a lot of change in there. So if you know that that's the type you are, then there are startup leadership positions. There's startup CEOs. So if you take a look at Richard Branson, he buys companies all the time. But a startup CEO, when you buy a brand new business, when you buy a business or you start a business from home and you're revamping it, the startup CEO is the person that gets everybody on board, changes the culture, does all of this stuff. That you have to know what kind of CEO you are. And then there's the steady CEO, Angela Burns. Angela, thank you. You're spot on. Thank you. And then there's the CEO that's consistent. They call them builder CEOs. Those are the people like Oprah, who started over here and built this empire all the way across, just built the empire. You have to know what kind of CEO you are if you're going to be a CEO. Are you the one that's a startup? Are you a builder? Are you an emergency? It's the same with your leadership skills. What kind of leader are you? Where does that go? And when you get to the point where you're leaving your 6-figure job and you're going to strike out on your own and you're going to be a mentoring business, you got to know what kind of mentor you are. And that's the thing I thought that was very key about you when you made that leap. You talked, totally botched that. It's Ursula Burns. That is true, Ursula. I'm sorry, I read your biography. It was really great. It is Ursula Burns. So yeah, I mean, there are some powerful people that are in CEO roles. So when you were talking, and I want to go back to what you're saying, because I think it's so important, it's that you have to kind of know who you are. And if you don't, then you need to have a support system that's going to help you take the first step, next step, to get you across the I want to make money and get you to I'm now a leader in a business.
Correct. Because there's a vast difference, right, between being a leader or a manager or a supervisor inside of a corporate or somebody else's business that has a set of guidelines and rules and all that sort of stuff. And then you step outside of that and you're now going to create your own thing. There are no rule books that you start with. You know, if you're going to do this on your own, you are starting from scratch with nothing. And that's why, you know, joining joining somebody else who's already been there, that has a mentorship program that can actually mentor you through a process, will really expedite your level of success. Like it will collapse that learning curve right down so that you can just follow their steps and simply get your stuff up and running. But like you mentioned, you know, the first step in this process is really to understand, what are my leadership skills? You know, what are those leadership skills? Because like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people don't even recognize what their specific leadership skills are that pertain to or that make a difference when actually creating your own mentoring business. We might want to start here, Vic, because a lot of people might be wondering, what's the difference, like leadership versus mentorship?
What's the difference?
Do we want to talk a little bit about, you know, what that means and why we think it's so important to not just create a business that's based on leadership, but is actually based on mentorship?
Yeah, and I want to talk about the leadership, mentorship, and the coaching and consulting industry. Okay, so here's what I know. Mentors write books. Coaches read books. And so that's the difference, the level of experience. Now, a coach is an important thing to have when you start because they help make you accountable. When you mentor, you're dealing with high achievers, people who've already achieved, and they may want to go to the next level. So maybe perhaps like you're at the end of your career, or you're fed up and you're like, I've been taking care of this guy's company for 20 years and I'm going to strike out on my own. You have those leadership skills. Mentoring is guiding, molding, shifting, and actually introducing someone to connections or leads. And for me, the thing is, I don't coach. I only take a few clients per year, very few clients per year, and I work as I'm mentoring them. I don't want to hold them accountable. I want to get them across the finish line. I don't want to be the person who says, oh, I'm going to help you do what you say you're going to do and keep you accountable. Did you do that today? No. I want to make the achiever who has an impact, who wants to have an impact in the world, who wants to make a difference for them and their clients and everything else, not just make money, but make a difference. And I want to help them get the connections they need, get the business setup they need, get past their fears and everything else that they need. I want to be the whole package. Mentoring is different. And the way it was explained to me is coaches read books, mentors write the books that coaches read. And that's the difference. That's really the difference there. You can see the difference in experience.
And I think, you know, as you're talking about that, this program that Vickie and I have created is actually, and that's not what this is about. We're not here to sell you a program as such. We're sharing with you what we did, because knowing what mentors do, knowing that mentors write books and don't just, you know, sit back and read books. Sure, we read books. You know, that is what we do. If I looked right here, I've got, I don't know, about 10 books lined up, and on my shelf over there, I've got a whole bunch of other books. Yes, we read them, but we are not just consumers. We actually are creators. We create the material, such as the She Myth, such as Six-Figure Coach to Seven-Figure Mentor. So all of those kind of books that Vickie and I create, or Vic's created in her own right, are from that point of view. We're creating them from the perspective of we are mentors. We want to share our skills, our knowledge, our expertise with others. And like Vickie said, when you start to do that, it elevates your level of influence. It elevates your level of authority. And so when we're creating this business that we speak of, it becomes a business ecosystem.
Yes.
So you don't want to just be creating a linear business. You want to create an actual ecosystem. And as part of that ecosystem, we teach people how to actually become, best-selling authors. That's part of our system and part of the ecosystem. And why? Because that sets you apart from everybody else.
Yeah,
When you are
it's like, I don't want to sell you my knowledge. I want to sell you an ecosystem, because in the ecosystem, your client can thrive. You can thrive. Everyone thrives. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you for mentioning that.
So let's just go back. So in terms of, I started the show out saying, if you're somebody who is, you've got leadership skills, and what we know from the people that we have worked with, that this system works particularly well with. If you want to move from being a leader into a mentor, bypassing coach and bypassing consultant, there are components of that in mentorship for sure, right? But if you want to do that, then there are some fundamental things that you need to do first, and that is understand what your leadership skills are.
Yeah.
Now, there's something that Vickie and I have actually created, and it's super simple, and it takes you 60 seconds to do. We've created something called let's pull it up. Let me just go down here and grab it, because I'm going to put it onto the screen. It's actually a quiz. It's a super simple leadership type quiz. And all you need to do is go to freedomseekhersway.com/leadership-type-quiz. I'm going to put it into today's show description so that you can just simply click it and go there and do the quiz. It'll take you 60 seconds. The cool thing about that is it's going to help you to see what your leadership skills are. And not only that, we've also given you some examples of very, I'm going to say, high profile business people that you will know, and you can see what traits you have, skills, attributes you have that are similar to them. And I think you'll be really surprised. You'll be delighted with who you are very similar to.
And to me, that's one of the most important things. It's like, once you see who your type is like, you're going to see how they used it in the world. And the issue with most people is that they're giving their leadership skills away for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 a year, 90,000 a year, whatever it is. Even if you give it away for 250,000 a year, you can only do that for so long before you figure out that you're really holding this whole gig up. But the thing is, you're going to see how these multi-million-dollar companies are made with the skill sets you already have that you need to hone a little bit. And honing it means owning it. You don't hone your skill until you own your skill. If you hone your skill that is not yours, then you're just learning a new skill set. And that's great. New skill sets are good. But if you hone your skills, it means you own your skills. And that means that you know how to make money with your skills. You know how to make your own income with your skills. Even if you never had a job or you don't want out of those jobs, you own your skills. And let me tell you something. Leadership skills are the number one thing people are looking for right now. And a lot of them are looking for your leadership skills, whether it's talking, whether it's writing, whether it's communicating in or leading a bunch of people or figuring out where the hole in the boat is. There's so many leadership skills right now, but the world is in this topsy-turvy place. And the only way out of this topsy-turvy mess is when leaders come out and identify solutions, systems, ecosystems to help people get through what they're getting through. And that's the number one thing right now that is missing and most needed. Like, if I had to say, what's the number one skill set on the planet right now? It's leaders in industries that can create systems to help people. And there's so many of you doing that right now for pittance, when it could be your 7-figure leadership skill set. And that's really the thing that's the thing I want to nail today.
Absolutely. I mean, I think if anyone that's listening to today's show, if you don't see our passion about this, and we're passionate about it because we do it, and we mentor others to do the same. And when you start to see the result that your mentees have, boy, that lights your fire. You start to see them writing books, creating programs, all of these things that are actually then helping loads of other people. So your impact has an absolute ripple effect on what's going on. We can have a huge impact on what's going on in the world. So I think, I want to
wait. I want to add to that. I want to add to that one thing, just one thing, because I know there are a lot of leaders out there who are stopped by their fear. Maybe you have a great idea and your fear is, I don't know how to do the technology, or I don't know who to go, what program, or where I'm supposed to, I don't know how to create this. I've never done this before. Your fear is stopping you. And you're thinking, how do I put together my support system? Right now, just identify the things that you're scared of, whether it's technology, whether it's speaking, like you know that you have to speak in front of an audience and you're a little nervous about that. Well, you're going to have to be able to identify where your leadership is stuck and caught.
Absolutely. I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think one of the things that whenever we've worked with any new students or mentees that have come into our programs, a lot of them come in and they say, oh my gosh, I've got leadership skills, but I'm frightened of the technology, or I'm not sure that I could speak to a large group of people, or whatever the case may be. And Vickie and I really help that person to overcome their fear. And what you need to know is that whether it's us or whether it's somebody else, that you've got somebody there who's got your back, who can say, let's go. This is how you do it. Because often when, it's like looking at, I don't know if you've ever, I like a bit of DIY. So if you ever have seen a flat pack, imagine going to your local hardware store, whether it's Bunnings or Home Depot or whatever it is you guys have in your country. You come home and you've got this massive flat pack and you want to put it together, and you start doing it, and you look in the box and you're like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. So you go hunting for the instructions. And in that box, there are no instructions. Just think about where your anxiety levels have just gone up to.
Or they're in a foreign language.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're in a foreign language, whatever the case may be. But you're looking for, like, what do? We go to the instruction manual to make sure that we're able to do the thing correctly. So you want to find somebody who's actually created, Vickie talked about it in the sense of systems and processes, but it's like your instruction manual. It's like you being able to bring up someone saying, here, that's how I felt when I opened up my iPad. Yeah, but you're opening up this thing. And it is a little bit fearful. Oh my God, it's new technology. What do I do with this? I mean, you imagine if you had somebody at the end of the line being able to say, look, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you. It's actually easy peasy when you know how. This is what you do. And giving you not just, this is how you do it, go and read this instruction, actually giving you step by step.
Mentoring is hands-on.
It's hands-on.
Mentoring, it's hands-on. Yeah, it's vastly different. And those coaches that are like, oh, you can sell a high ticket item, and oh, well, I can see all of you as a whole group once a week, and everybody gets 15 minutes, in this group. And I'm like, that hands-on stuff is crap, and it doesn't usually work. What works is mentoring, is that one-on-one with the high achievers, and your leadership skills. When you mentor someone and their leadership skills, that's how you get them across the finish line. We don't say, here's the course on how to put your website together. Good luck. And that's what's being sold all the time.
Correct. Most people will join programs like that and stay in them for a very short period of time, and it's really sad, but they've wasted their money because they get to a point where they get stuck. They don't know where to go
And
next.
they can't
That's why you
move
joined
past.
the darn program in the first place, was to get the help that you were really looking for and desiring. And I think the other piece is when you're starting to, we're talking a little bit further down the track here, but when you take them leadership skills, you know what they are, you know what your business is going to look like. You want to make sure that from a mentoring business perspective, you become very, very tailored and very personalized to that particular business owner.
Yes.
It's not a cha-chink cookie cutter, everybody gets the same, everybody does the same thing, because every person is just a little bit different. Every person is unique. Every person is trying to do something slightly different. So, I love it because as the mentor, you get to see so many different businesses. You get to experience so many different people's, lives and points of views and their ideas, and you're able to help them really put an ecosystem around it. So like Vic and I said, is that we've created this quiz, and it took us a little while to do this. Like we put a lot of thought.
Don't you want to know? It's like, don't you want to know what leadership type you are? Don't you want to know what your greatest skill set is in the workforce in your leadership way? Well, in 60 seconds, you can take the quiz. And I want to note that it's Freedom Seek Hers. It's Freedom, common spelling, SEEKHERS, Freedom Seek Hers way, and .com. And it's in the show notes there. If you just write Freedom Seekers Way, if you don't put the H between the K and the E of seekers, then you're going to be kind of lost. It's freedomseekersway.com/leadership type quiz, but there's hyphens in there. Leadership -type -quiz. And actually take the 60 seconds to find out whose skill sets, what $1 million skill set are you giving away? Now, I want to talk about this. When I was in college back in the day, I actually worked at a McDonald's. It was a long time McDonald's, and I didn't realize my leadership skills. But, I got to be a manager pretty quick there and everything else. And I remember this one day we had a really bad day with a particularly horrible manager that was in the store. And I said, that's it. I've had it. And I put my stuff down and I walked out because it was about the breakfast shift. And not only that, everyone around me, the entire team, walked out the door with me. Everybody left it. And we were like, if you don't change your attitude, if you don't do this, you're going to be doing the breakfast shift by yourself. What I didn't notice for a long time, probably over a year, is that the entire team walked out with me. And what they did instead, my GM said, if the entire team walks out with her, that's the person who should be the manager. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, so I noticed that was the first time I learned about one of my skill sets, one of my leadership skill sets. And so what happened is that later, I still didn't see them for a long time. I still didn't see that skill set for a long time. Why? Because I was constantly using it. I didn't identify it as a skill set. And that's why we give it away for pennies. I mean, come on, it was like 19 when I was in college. And therefore, I think it was $4.50 was the basic wage that you got for working at a McDonald's. And, you got a 1% raise, or here's another quarter or 25-cent more raise. And we want you to use all of these skill sets for that extra 25 cents. And I was like, so many people don't understand that they have a 7-figure lifestyle in them, waiting to come out, moving past their fear, moving past and learning what their leadership skill is. You have a 60-second quiz that you can take right now that will stop that. It's a quiz. It's free. And all you have to do. It's fun. It is fun. All you have to do is go to the Freedom Seek Hers, HERS way.com/leadership -type -quiz. Now, the gold inside this quiz is about you knowing how you benefit a company. And now you can ask for a bigger raise. Because when you're done knowing what this quiz does for you, you'll be able to sit down and go, this is how I benefit the company. This is how I benefit people. This is what I've done that's been really good. And you'll know what type of business is best under your leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big golden. It's like everybody keeps pitching you, hi, do you want this business or do you want to have this business? What business is right for you? What business falls under your leadership effortlessly? That's what you're going to find out in when you take this really quick 60-second quiz.
Absolutely. And just leading on from that, not only are you going to find out all of those things, but you'll also find out who your skills are most like. So who is the person, the known person, in this world who has got an amazing business that you now can go and research. You can start going and having a look at what does that person actually do. Look at their history. Look at how they used their leadership skills to develop. And we're not talking just a multi-million-dollar businesses. We're talking billion-dollar businesses. How do they actually do that? And most might think, gosh, well, how do I do that when I'm starting from where I'm starting? And, they're huge now. They started somewhere too. And they're at the same point that you're at right now. And the key to it is the only difference between you, where you are right now and where they are, is actually taking action, is making a decision that you want to bank on yourself and do something about it. And you want to make a difference to other people's lives. And if that's the case, first step, like Vickie said, go and do
take the quiz. I know there's a bunch of you out there that are tired of being taken advantage of by bosses and things like that. But you know what? If you don't take advantage of yourself, somebody else will take advantage of you. If you're not taking advantage of yourself, and somebody else is going to come along and take advantage of you. And how do they do that? Well, they can take advantage of you because you don't know the value you're bringing to the table. And what we want to do with this is mentor you just for a little bit right now. Do you want to know the value you bring to the table? Do you want to know that? So that you can take advantage of you and your leadership skills and not let somebody else take advantage of you and your leadership skills. Because if you don't take advantage of you, somebody else will.
Yeah. I mean, as they say, if you don't start working on building your own dreams, guess what? You are doing every single day is you are working to build somebody else's dreams. So if you're happy doing that, building someone else's dreams, then you stay exactly where you are. But if you think, my gosh, after the last few years we have just had, it is time for me to do something about this and to actually really start building my own dreams and stepping into who you really are and who you want to be by creating your own mentoring business, by mentoring other people in a really cool way, then first step is you just do the quiz. That's all you have to do today.
Step one, do the quiz. Find out a little bit about who you are. And I don't care if you're 35, 40, 50, 60, 70. If you're an entrepreneur and oh my gosh, I have so much more to give. There's no way I'm retiring at 60. I remember talking to a woman and we were at a doctor's office and he was 103 and she was 60 taking him to his doctor's appointment. And I was like, oh my gosh, 103. And she said, yes, I'm not going to retire for another 25 years. And I was like, we're living longer. We want to do more, be more, have more. This is your time. You've honed your leadership skills for, a 30-year career. And now you want to go out and be a mentor. You should be a mentor. And now let's get you a mentor-like business so that you actually can live in a comfortable way that makes you feel really great. So you can go from 6 figures to 7.
I mean, the title of the show, right, is Unlocked. And I specifically named the show Unlocked based on really my experience, my journey of actually unlocking, what I really wanted in life, being true to who I am and what I want to do. And so I've named this show Unlocked with Tracy Wilson because I wanted to share that with other people. Now, what Vickie and I have talked about today is actually a big part of what I did. It's part of the unlocking of who I was and what I really truly wanted to do with my life. Yeah. So I want to say to you guys that, like Vic said, the first thing we're going to do is just do the quiz. Let's put that aside. And then you just want to think about, am I happy with what I've got in my life right now? Am I happy working for somebody else? Or do I want to start my own thing? And if it is starting my own thing, it doesn't matter. Like Vickie said, if you're 50, 60, 70 years old, we do not care, because if you've got that desire, you have got it in you to want to mentor others, we want to help you do it. So I'm hoping that you guys have enjoyed today's show, and with what Vickie and I have shared with you. We've shared with you a little glimpse of what we do and how we actually did it for ourselves, and how we help how we help the mentees that we work with do the same for themselves and thrive in their own mentoring businesses. So I want to say thank you very much for joining today. I absolutely, it's been such a long time that Vic and I
do want to give a little secret away.
Do it.
Okay, yes. So here's the secret. We're just about to end. If you take the quiz, Tracy and I have a free gift for you inside that. So it's going to help you help yourself. I promise. It's going to help you help yourself. And it's a great gift for any leader.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
I'm not even going to say what it is. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's a great gift.
Let's just say it's a bit of a mystery, and it's a big bonus. So go do the quiz. You'll see as you go through it. There's some little 60 seconds of your life, and there's lots of gold nuggets that will be awaiting you. Do the quiz, and let's just see where it takes you. 2023 could look vastly different from 2020, 2021, and 2022 that you've just had. So it's been fun. It's like I mentioned, it's been a long time since I've had Vic on the show, and her and I are going to be doing a few more of these particular shows, talking about our mentoring business, how you can create your own mentoring business, what that looks like, how you create the ecosystem, and all the elements that make that up. So stay tuned. Yeah. We'll let you know whenever you see Tracy and Vickie on the show, you'll know that that's what we're going to be speaking about. You'll know that we'll be doing, a bit more of a deep dive into how all of this works. And we will be harping on about this quiz. We really will be, because it is the first step in the process. Once you do that, because it costs you nothing, because it takes 60 seconds of your time, and out the other end of that, you get some really great information to help you. And
I want to be so clear. We are not trying to sell you anything. There's nothing for sale. Not everybody can join a mentoring program, especially ours. We're a limited group of people, and that's it. And there's applications and interviews and things that you have to do. This is not a, hey, at the end, there's, buy my program for, $19.97. That's not it. We just want to help you make 2023 and the rest of your life the best of your life. That's really what we're doing here. Tracy, I want to say, I love working with you so much. I'm so blessed, and thank you.
You're most welcome, and the feeling's mutual. But anyway, guys, look, you never know. You might be able to start a mentoring business or a career with somebody else, like Vickie and I have. We've actually gone into, our mentoring business is the two of us. So anybody that joins our program, it's not just one, you get a package. And there's not just Vickie and I, there's other people behind the scenes that do a bunch of things too that are there to help. But anyhow, that aside, like we said, you do the quiz, there is nothing for you to buy. So don't be frightened that, oh my God, they're going to try and sell me something. We're not. Our programs are strictly limited. You have to apply. There is a process to get in. But, go through the leadership quiz and find out which you are. And once you've done it, come back to the show. If you are watching on YouTube, if you're watching in Success Secrets for Business, Family and Life on Facebook, comment and let us know which of the leadership styles did you come out as.
Oh, yeah, I gotta know that.
Yeah, tell us which leadership style are you? And you might just find that you have a lot of similarities to very, very successful leaders. So that being said, guys, I want to say thank you very much to you guys for joining me today on the Unlock Show. A huge big thank you to Vickie for being such an amazing business partner and being here again today. She always shares the best things. So I love having her on the show. And like I mentioned, we'll be back again. When you see our two faces on the screen, you know you're in for a treat. You've got some good stuff coming your way over the coming weeks. But until then, I want to say bye for now. See you again either Wednesday or Friday, 10 a.m. Brisbane time. And until next time, go and live your life unlocked, because there is just no other way. All right, guys, have a great week. Bye for now. And it doesn't want to end the broadcast. And this is what happens sometimes. So here we go. Let's see if I can...